kita kini terdedah kepada dunia tanpa sempadan, penuh ancaman dan tipu daya. Jangan biar anak-anak kita melayari media sosial tanpa pengawasan, kerana itu boleh menjadi permulaan kepada silap langkah dan kerosakan. Kita tak boleh leka. Pastikan anak-anak kita dilindungi daripada bahaya cyber yang tak kenal waktu. Pantau setiap aktiviti dalam talian mereka. Dunia digital mesti menjadi ruang yang selamat, bukan perangkap yang memusnahkan masa depan anak-anak kita.
Sebelum memulakan perjalanan, pastikan dokumen perjalanan anda lengkap. Kekalkan jarak sekurang-kurangnya 10 meter dari kenderaan depan. Gunakan lampu isyarat ketika membelok. Jika anda ingin memotong kenderaan besar, berwaspada dengan titik buta. Berhenti dan jangan langgar lampu isyarat merah.
Kerajaan terus komited memastikan kesejahteraan rakyat Malaysia terpelihara. Mulai 30 September 2025, rakyat Malaysia akan menikmati harga subsidi petrol RON 95 pada harga RM1.99 seliter. Manakala bukan warga negara akan membayar harga tanpa subsidi dianggarkan sekitar RM2.60 seliter. Kelayakan subsidi ini automatik kepada semua warga negara Malaysia dengan kad pengenalan dan lesen memandu yang aktif. Setiap warga negara diberi siling kelayakan bulanan 300 liter, manakala pemandu e-hailing dikecualikan daripada siling kelayakan ini dan boleh memohon nilai lebih tinggi. Budi Madani RON 95, manfaat rakyat.
Terlepas dari siaran program-program menarik di RTM, jom saksikan semuanya di RTM Klik.
It's good to have you with us. You're watching Biz Malaysia, where it's all things business and all eyes are on ASEAN in this fast-moving world. Malaysia is carving out its place on the global stage with bold ideas, strategic investments and a vision for sustainable growth, from high-tech innovation to SME empowerment, from infrastructure to digital transformation. We dive deep into the developments shaping Malaysia's economic journey. And today, we can't ignore the rising geopolitical tensions and shifting alliances. So as the chair of ASEAN, how does Malaysia navigate these complex challenges and seize the opportunities in regional collaboration, economic resilience and national security? Those are the questions. ASEAN stands at a crossroads. Today, we take a closer look at ASEAN's resilience, where East Sabah's security meets sub-national regionalism, and Malaysia's strategic vision aligns with the broader goals of BIMP IAGA and beyond. I'm Brendan Lepol. We'll be discussing all these and more with our special guests in the studio. Don't go anywhere. Now, to help us understand what it really takes to strengthen ASEAN's resilience in today's uncertain world, we turn to an economist who shares key insights on regional cooperation, economic strategy, and Malaysia's role in the bigger picture. Let's take a look.
Alright, so ASEAN today is no longer a small market. We can say it is the third largest in the Asia, and of course is the fifth largest in the world. And of course, in this era of global uncertainty because of the trade tensions and of course of the technology shift and everything, the question is how do we strengthen ASEAN resilience and ensure sustainable growth? One of ASEAN's greatest strengths, of course, is the large populations. With over 670 million people, right? The region has a growing middle class and productive workforce, making it one of the most dynamic consumer market in the world. Another strength is ASEAN strategic location, sitting right in the heart of the global trade routes. The region serves as a critical hub for supply chains and logistics. Equally important is ASEAN consistent economic growth and integration. I think with the collective GDP exceeding $4 trillion, ASEAN continues to attract foreign investment to initiatives such the ASEAN Economic Community and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP. So looking ahead, ASEAN should focus on several key priorities to build greater resilience. This is my opinion. First, the digital economy and innovations. By embracing e-commerce, fintech, and of course the artificial intelligence and everything, I believe ASEAN can unlock new engines of growth. Second, of course, the green and sustainable development. Investing in renewable energy and adopting stronger ESG practice will ensure the region long-term competitiveness. And third, connectivity and inclusivity. Enhancing both digital and physical infrastructure, I believe this reducing development gaps among member states will strengthen ASEAN as a community. With this strong and forward-looking priorities, ASEAN is well poised not just to withstand global challenges, but to emerge as even more influential economic powerhouse. The future is ASEAN.
ASEAN's resilience isn't just about regional policy. Among many things, where East Sabah's security priorities meet local development, where subnational regionalism connects with national strategies, and where Malaysia's vision aligns with the broader goals of BIM IAGA and ASEAN's future. Joining us in the studio is our special guest to unpack all of this and what it means for Malaysia's position in the region. So don't go anywhere, you're watching Biz ASEAN. Our guest will be joining us in the studio shortly to share expert insights on this important topic. Stay tuned.
ASEAN Glossary. ASEAN Glossary.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, in the face of rising geopolitical uncertainty, ASEAN's strength lies in unity, strategy and regional cooperation. Today on Biz ASEAN, we explore how resilience is being built where East Sabah security, BIM IAGA development and subnational regionalism come together with Malaysia's strategic vision for the region. How is ASEAN preparing for the future? Now let's find out. Joining us in the studio, we have ARIFF Adi Putra ANWAR, Research Associate Institute for Development Studies. Thank you so much for joining us here on Biz ASEAN.
All right, thanks so much, Brendan, for having me.
Before we head on down to the questions, some of the pressing questions that we have for you right now, ARIFF. ARIFF, could you please tell us what is the purpose, first and foremost, of BIM IAGA in the first place?
Yeah, it was set up in the 1990s to assist the region which we call Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines, the East ASEAN Growth Area, the sense of BIM IAGA. It was set to help assist peripheral territories within these respective countries so that they can achieve sustainable economic growth on par with the central governments or the central regions for these countries. So for Malaysia, it's the Borneo side of Sabah and Sarawak. For the Philippines, it's the southern Philippines, and for Indonesia, it's for Kalimantan and the respective islands, island chains next to it. So this is all meant to set up in a way that policy can be channeled and focused in developing this region when sometimes the notion of ASEAN centrality seems to take center stage. So this allows a more specialized ad hoc arrangement where these regions are able to develop economically.
Right. So where do these regions stand? We cannot take away of global uncertainties. We're talking about inflation to geopolitical tensions. How is ASEAN's economic resilience being tested today?
It's definitely being tested in the sense that it is in the middle of the China and American trade war right now, and not to mention the often conflagrations that we see in the South China Sea. Oftentimes that the narratives where Sabah, Sarawak, Brunei, Southern Philippines and Indonesia tends to be, in a way, it's not, I won't say buried underneath, but it tends not to get as much emphasis or focus as compared to the effects on, let's say, Vietnam, Thailand, or Manila, or even in the Semenanjung side, the Malaya side. But these are of immediate concerns, especially for the Borneo side, for Sabah and Sarawak, because we are adjacent exactly right to the South China Sea.
Right.
So any kind of uncertainty in that region also spells uncertainty for Sabah and Sarawak.
That's right. Right. And obviously, when it comes to curbing all these challenges, Malaysia has come up with different strategies, to put in place both nationally and subnationally, just to strengthen its resilience, particularly in areas like East Sabah. What strategies do you think is in place right now, and whether it's sufficient?
Well, at the national level, we do have the industrialization policies, which is meant to help Sabah catch up in terms of industrialization compared to to how we see over here in Kuala Lumpur and the other industrialized states here. Now, what else we have also is the establishment of ESCOM. That was set up in 2013 to assist with security issues when we saw the Tandoor intrusion. Currently, a curfew is still being instated in areas like Lahad Datu and the other parts of the East Coast. However, this runs into the issue that this is a very wide area to cover, and sometimes security is quite porous in Sabah. It's very malleable. It's very easy to move up and down across this region because it's just very hard to monitor. So there are current policies in place. However, there needs to be a harder focus and emphasis on ensuring that these areas are more holistically considered in respect to the region as a whole.
Right. Now, let's talk about subnational regionalism within ASEAN's larger framework. How does BIM IAGA demonstrate this initiative?
BIM IAGA launched its Vision 2035 plan, which was in 2017. It was supposed to set our roadmap, strategies and ideas and solutions to pressing issues of economic concern to these peripheral regions. That was about to finish up at 2025. So there's going to be another round of considerations of what is BIM IAGA's vision for the next 10 years, for the next 20 years. However, when we talk about ASEAN and sub-regionalism, that tends to elicit some kind of criticism, especially from, which goes back to the idea of ASEAN centrality. When we think of ASEAN, we don't think of the territories that make up part of the member states. We think of them in respect to their capital cities, the administrative capitals. When we think of Malaysia's role in ASEAN, we don't think, very rarely we conjure up images of Sabah and Sarawak. A lot of it is conjured up images of Kuala Lumpur. The same goes for the Philippines. When we think of the Philippines' role role in ASEAN, we think of Manila immediately.
Right.
But we do not consider a lot of the peripheral regions, which are very diverse and do not share the same economic or even demographic dispositions compared to the rest of the country.
Right. When vision comes to place, we are talking about 10 years, 20 years, and probably even beyond that. Would you think, in your own opinion, BIM IAGA, if you take a look, for an example, you just mentioned that 2025, they will pave another roadmap for the future, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years. Do you think that it's a little bit too long to realize that goals and vision, in your own opinion?
I don't think it's more so realizing that vision. It's exactly what that vision is going to be. Because we've seen that BIM IAGA for Malaysia's side is under the purview of the Economic Ministry. So it's a federal body, it's a federal agency, but even though we do have our own state bodies as well for it, a lot of the decision making on the BIM IAGA side, even though it was set up for economic inclusivity, is still very much federal dominated. It's still, but that's fair enough, because the on foreign policy is still under the purview of the federal government. However, when looking at BIM IAGA's role in the future, is how can BIM IAGA leverage its position as a peripheral economic arrangement to give more agency to the regions that they are administering. For example, can we say BIM IAGA can start pursuing the same notion as a special economic zone that Johor and Singapore is experiencing? That is an arrangement between the Johor state and the Singapore government.
Right, that's right.
Can we start to look towards a more cohesive and more integrated BIM IAGA in the way that arrangements of economic concern, let's say Sabah can go to Kalimantan, Sabah can go to Manila to have, or even the Southern Philippines, to have these formal agreements and formal negotiations without that much oversight from their respective central governments. We've seen Sarawak doing this now, sending out their envoys all across the area to assert its regional presence.
Right.
Can we see that playing out in the future? That is what I would like to see as a vision for BIM IAGA.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for actually talking to us and explaining your visions and your aspiration. Now let's come back, ARIFF, to the key issues in East Sabah. You just mentioned as well, situations in Lahad Datu, so on and so forth. So how does strengthening maritime and border security, how does it contribute to economic stability?
The problem with the maritime security on that part of Sabah is that we have instances of migration which are undocumented. So we would have instances where we have undocumented individuals crossing through the maritime border into Sabah, undocumented. We do not know how much are there. So it's hard to us to plan economic priorities if we have this element of illegal migration. Not to mention that this does not bode well for a lot of investor confidence, especially in the East Sabah region, which definitely requires a lot of resources to be channeled into. So when this does not paint a good picture of governance, it does affect Sabah's image as a way for investment, as an investment hub. Now, we do have bodies that do focus on this, such as Sabah Invest and other kinds of bodies. However, resolving the security issue is very, very difficult. Like I said, the borders are extremely porous. You have to monitor a huge stretch of coastal regions. And that comes to highlight a weakness in terms of governance from Sabah's side. When it comes to the ideas and conceptions of securitization, we think of security in the very conventional sense, is where we deploy security forces, civil defense forces, to patrol and observe the region. However, we haven't started to consider that maybe we would benefit more from less formal conventional methods of security.
Formal conventional method. Wow.
For example, we had the Trilateral Cooperation Agreement back in 2019, and this was done between East Sabah, the Southern Philippines, and parts of Kalimantan, North Kalimantan. And that was set up as information sharing between all these regions here, and to allow more closer monitoring. So it shows that there's an efficacy in working together with regional partners rather than trying to have a more, I would say, traditional idea of securitization. And I believe this comes back to the argument of decentralization, because Sabah itself is distant from Kuala Lumpur. East Sabah itself is very distant from Kota Kinabalu. So we might have to think of more decentralized methods of securitization, where we involve more local communities, we involve local government as well, to become, in a way, they promise the security in a way, because they will be the first on response on the ground. So this can couple with, like I said, the BIM IAGA initiatives, where we work together with other peripheral regional partners.
Now we're going to take a quick break right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about corporations that needs the attention, critical, I would say, right now as we speak, and those questions and more redirected to our guests in the studio. After a quick break, We'll be right back. Stay tuned right now on Biz ASEAN.
Bagi Julita rangkai. Kenapa tak beritahu, Mak? Julita nak sambung belajar luar negara. Habis, apa nak buat di sini? Juli nak belajar buat batik. Mak!
Welcome back to Biz ASEAN. We are here in the studio talking to ARIFF Adi Putra Anwar, and coming back to some of the questions that we have for him on Biz ASEAN is the critical areas right now, ARIFF, that we cannot look away or shy away from. ASEAN's collaboration is often cited as strengths. Now, in your view, what areas of cooperation that are most critical right now?
I think I'll have to cite the common criticisms of ASEAN is that even though the strength is unity, it's always this criticism where ASEAN takes too long to get to any kind of resolution.
Right.
It's considered a very toothless organization. However, I think because of that that almost confidence building and capacity building vehicle that ASEAN serves, and because of that it takes a while. I think ASEAN needs to start looking towards minilateral arrangements as opposed to multilateral ones. ASEAN itself is a multilateral arrangement.
Right.
It has been given a lot of premium from respective ASEAN leaders. However, not a lot of stock has been given to the sub-regional minilateral arrangements, like I mentioned, BIMPIAGA or the Trilateral Cooperation Agreement. And I think we need to shift towards allowing more latitude towards more sub-regional arrangements. For example, Sabah and Sarawak, there's not much concern with in terms of the Gulf of Tonkin or with Thailand and Cambodia. Indonesia's concerns may not be so pertinent when it comes to Vietnam and China, right? So in a way, it's how can we have more ad hoc arrangements?
Right.
Where we can focus, we have more devolved bodies to focus on economic development without requiring so much oversight at the central level. So that is one concern it is one point, a suggestion that ASEAN could look into. However, our Prime Minister, that's Sri Anwar Ibrahim, has voiced his criticism for minilateralism a few years back at the UN General Assembly, saying that it seeks to unravel already established multilateral arrangement like ASEAN, as it's considered an existential threat. However, it's not. I would say I would have to disagree with that, because when we have more oversight, let's say Sabah has more oversight with its regional engagements, it allows it to chart a path that is more Borneo-centric.
Okay.
It is more focused and localized in a way that it doesn't require consideration so much at the central level. Like I said, let's say ASEAN and Malaysia, ASEAN makes the decision to focus on Thailand.
Okay.
Sabah and Sarawak, what is their concern really of Thailand? They would have to follow that national direction, right?
Correct. That's
Whereas they can be focused on the Borneo side of things, the Kalimantan side, and the Southern Philippines side of things.
Okay, fantastic. Now, looking ahead, of course, we talk about opportunities, especially when it comes to ASEAN, when it comes to its vision. But what opportunities can ASEAN leverage to not just, like you said, withstand shocks, but also thrive in more in this uncertain global landscape?
I think, in a way, in this global landscape, the issue is that everything's too interconnected, and an argument to be made is you have to find ways to decouple yourself from that. In a way, whatever happens at the global level, you are still insulated from, in a way, what the global aftershocks. For example, the US tariffs that has been imposed on Malaysia. That affects Malaysia as a whole because of the semiconductor industry. However, when we look towards Sabah, there's not much an effect on it. Sabah's industries are still very much insulated, but you can make the arguments because Sabah's industries are not touching on those industries that are affected by the tariffs. So in a way, it's very much insulated, and in a way decoupled from that more global conversation, from that global issue. So it's picking out where can we find strengths that's that can withstand aftershocks, but still be insulated and can still continue as business as usual. It's in a way going for integration is very good. We integrate with larger markets. We can able to tap into larger revenue streams that way. However, at the same time, we need to have more designs where we do still protect our own local industries as well.
Okay, now let's talk about regionalism, especially when it comes to subnational regionalism, like BIM IAGA, often works on the ground. Faster than Central ASEAN initiatives, not countries, but initiatives. Now, how can national governments better support these efforts? You just mentioned about supports coming from the central government to the state government, and of course the people of Sabah, and to give them focus. So how do you think, in your own words, probably perhaps your views, your aspirations, for these support to come from the central government?
I think in terms of support, it's more so administrative concessions. Allowing the state government to have more latitude in how it engages with its regional partners. For example, let's say the recent issue with Ambalat. Now that's of immediate concern to Sabah, and of course the Prime Minister invited our Chief Minister, that's Sri Haji. However, that is something that I believe Sabah itself could have played a more active role in resolving, because this is a very sub-regional issue that also has a national concern, national security concern. However, Sabah itself is not denied any kind of talent that's able to engage at that level. The Chief Minister's Office has a special advisor for foreign affairs, which is occupied by Tan Sri Anif Aman, who is a former foreign minister, and who his declaration was being able to have China at the Manila Summit for the Code of Conduct for the South China Sea. So there is a level of competency at the state level to allow state to go talk to their counterparts across the other governments, respective national governments, and say that, hey, we want to do this, we want to try focus on this issue, we want to focus on this kind of development. And that should be, in a way, the support that the federal government can give is just allowing it to facilitate that kind of arrangement, but at the same time give the agency to the respective state governments. Sarawak has done this on its own in a way. And it's decided that, okay, well, we want to talk to the Indonesians, we want to talk to the Filipinos, and we want to talk to Bruneians. We don't need to wait exactly. We can send out our own voice.
So probably, ARIFF, perhaps what you're saying is that you would appreciate if full autonomy was given to Sabah for them to lay out their strategy and move on with their initiatives?
Not exactly full autonomy, but partial autonomy. Because at the end of the day, we still need to refer to Wisma Putra, we still need to refer to the Home Ministry when it comes to matters of sensitive issues, foreign sensitive issues, and defense and security. It's just that with that kind of you cultivate a stronger relationship of consultation with one another instead of orders being directly given. It should be a give and take kind of relationship.
Give and take kind of thing, yes, that's right.
In a way, states itself, they like to do this kind of give and take bilateral relationship. Maybe Malaysia could evolve internally in the structure, could evolve engagements between its peripheral territories akin to how it engages with bilateral engagements with other countries, since Sabah and Sarawak in itself are quite specifically designated differently in the constitution, right? Perhaps we can have engagements on that kind of level as well, is that we have more consultative engagements with each other instead of arbitrary ones.
Thank you, ARIFF, for talking to us about that particular topic right there. And here's the thing. Beyond economics and resilience, it also means social and environmental stability. So how can ASEAN balance economic growth with sustainability, and also at the same time taking a look at the community and ensuring its well-being?
I think when you mention community, that's the underpinning factor, is community-based solutions when it comes to sustainable development, especially when it comes to environmental protections. We've seen a few case studies in the southern Philippines, where community-based solutions with regards to timber extraction, when it comes to redevelopment of extracted forests, has shown that if it's led at a community level, there's a lot of sustainable revenue where the value is retained within that particular community itself.
Right.
We also see that in Sabah, in some cases. We've seen a recent company, a community-based company, a tourism company, called Kopel Sendirian Berhad. So what they've done is that they've set up homestays within protected areas, reserved areas, and they've made sure that the operation is involving the immediate local community. And they recently made a revenue of about 1 million ringgit, which is shared completely within the community itself. There's no extraction of that value or of that money out towards companies that comes here for the purpose of extraction. That value is retained. The communities are involved in preservation of the areas that they're operating in because they have a better knowledge of the areas itself. So maybe it's these kinds of community-based solutions that we need to promote even more. Now, ASEAN has a lot of these forestry summits, all these agricultural working groups, right?
Okay.
Which is great. And I think more of that should be focused on the states that are willing to take this up.
Nice.
Sabah definitely is showcasing its strength in this.
Okay.
I mean, one last point is that Sabah is Malaysia's carbon sink.
Nice.
So maybe we should give more attention there.
Nice. Arif, it's a pleasure having you on the show. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, so thank you so much for joining us right now. As ASEAN navigates an increasingly complex global landscape, resilience isn't just about responding to challenges, it's about building stronger foundation for shared growth, security, and also collaboration. From East Sabah to the BIM Young Corridor, and through deeper subnational and regional cooperation. Till then, I'm Brendan Paul. This is Biz ASEAN.